So this is not good. So Bernie Sanders, okay, one of his surrogates, Zephyr Teachout. You guys probably know Zephyr Teachout. She's a law professor who I believe had ran for office a couple of years ago, back in 2018. She is a surrogate. I think she specializes essentially in being anti-corruption. And this one says, Byrne noticed Joe Biden has a big corruption problem. In a new op-ed, anti-corruption expert Zephyr Teachout says we don't have to choose Biden's way, which would give Trump a perfect foil. This tweet summarizes it, saying, Teachout, who has endorsed Sanders, cites three reasons in saying Biden has a corruption problem. One, he represented credit card industry when he was a Delaware senator. He attended fundraiser with health insurance lobbyists. And three, he attended a fundraiser with a fossil fuel co-founder. So there's not even, so that's, these three big points. There's so much more. His family has cashed in on his position in being in government, especially his son, with him being Joe Biden being vice president, his son Hunter Biden cashing in big time. And so it's a legit attack. Like, hey, this guy's corrupt. Don't vote for this guy. Not only do you not vote for him because he's corrupt, don't vote for him because the same way that we saw the corrupt candidate in 2016 lose to Donald Trump, we don't want a redux of that, do we? Do we want a replay of 2016? Do we want to, nominate a candidate who's corrupt? Why would you do that? And Bernie Sanders came out and apologized for this.
Zephyr is doing a great job for us. She's a wonderful surrogate. But on this issue, I strongly disagree. Look, Joe Biden is a friend of mine. I've known him for many, many years. He's a very decent guy. And Joe and I have strong disagreements on a number of issues, and we'll argue those disagreements out. But it is absolutely not my view that Joe is corrupt in any way. And I'm sorry that op-ed appeared to me.
That is not a good response. There's only one possible thing, which he doesn't mention here. There's only one possible thing. With the impeachment trial coming up, the trial for removal in the Senate, and maybe he's doing this to basically be like, I'm an impartial juror. That's the only thing I could possibly give to him. But just to respond to, what he's saying here, I don't like this at all, okay? Joe Biden is very clearly corrupt, and it's a very important thing to hit on. But also, I had felt like in 2016, he was way too hands-off. He was way too much about, let me just prop myself up instead of pointing out the flaws of the other candidate. Like, dude, you're in a fucking primary, okay? And this is not so much me being mad at Bernie. I'm just doing this in general, okay? This is not so much to, lash out at Bernie or anything. What I'm trying to say here, this is for everybody who whines and cries anytime a candidate says something about another candidate trying to distinguish themselves. We're in a primary race. The only way to essentially win is not to just boost yourself up. You can point out negatives of other candidates, point out the differences between yourself and the other candidate. Totally a rational and legitimate thing to do. Okay, you can do all of those things, and you should do that. You should look at the other candidate, and I felt like he didn't do that enough in 2016. I felt like he took the high road and was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, no, you have to do that. That's how you win, and that's how you bring the negatives of the other candidate to people's attention. So I don't like this at all. And the fact you're friends with Joe Biden, okay, blah, that sucks, that stinks. I don't want that to be this thing. And Joe Biden is the definition of corrupt. What was Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden's fight about? The credit industry. Remember that bankruptcy bill? And it's because Joe Biden was on the side of the creditors, the credit card companies. So, obviously he's corrupt. We know about all of this. This is very, very disappointing. And then Joe Biden says, thanks for acknowledging this, Bernie. These kinds of attacks have no place in this primary. Let's all keep our focus on making Donald Trump a one-term president. So my problem with this tweet is twofold. A, these kinds of attacks, calling them attacks already tells me that you're conceding that indeed you are corrupt. Okay, because you're taking this uber offense to this claim. But this idea, and I saw this on The View and read it from other people talking about this kind of a thing. They say, Bernie's attacks against Hillary, saying that she was corrupt, really led the way for Donald Trump to win. Yeah, you fuckhead. If you don't want that to happen, then maybe don't nominate the candidate who's corrupt. Wow, did you ever think of that? I mean, people are so ridiculous. Now you can't even say anything about people in primaries. You can't point out basic facts. You can't point out that Joe Biden was open to cutting Social Security and bragged about it on the Senate floor multiple times. You can't point out that he had a fundraiser with the fossil fuel exec. You can't do the same when it comes to him being a sellout to credit card companies. You can't do that, okay? You can't do any of that because, oh, what a heinous attack on Joe Biden it is to do that. No, of course you can do that. And also, my second problem is the idea that this is not keeping all of our focus on making Donald Trump a one-term president is asinine. Why is it asinine? I'll tell you why it's asinine. It's asinine because the reason why we are pointing out you're corrupt is to focus on making Donald Trump a one-term president. Because you know what, Joe? If you're elected, you're going to lose to Donald Trump. Okay? You will lose. All right? If Bernie is elected, we will win. The same thing happened in 2016. Remember how Hillary lost. And the biggest thing was crooked Hillary, and it worked. Okay, why the fuck would we want to redo that? So yes, in going after you and exposing you for your corruption, we are at the same time focusing on making Donald Trump a one-term president. The two are combined. They're the same thing. And this is very frustrating. The idea that pointing out facts about another candidate. Oh man, you disgusting, divisive candidate. No! This is a primary. What do you think is going to happen? And so I'm disappointed that Bernie did this, and I'm disappointed at the conversation nationwide.